Hey everybody, we are here for another TFT Mini. This time, as you can see, we have the lovely terrain setup that is from Legion Terrain. Check out legionterrain.com, and we'll have a link in the show notes for this one.
Yeah,
So
Evan looks
yeah,
very snowy today.
it's very snowy. It's getting close to winter. Of course, here in Seattle, that just means that it's wetter than even usually is. But on this strange planet, it is looking extra snowy. This is not this is just the ice planet. Okay, there's no trademarks, there's no copyrights, no nothing. But we are here today to talk about cohesion for cover, Mike. And so we have this little visual demonstration. And for this example, we're going to be going from the perspective of we're the player with these lovely rebel troopers right here. And then we have a couple of opposing clone snipers. We got one over there. We got one over there. We have two of them because talking about their different possible angles is something that is going to matter. So I think that we should start by talking about what the terrain would be defined as in this example, because that's something that would happen at the beginning of the game. But for us to be able to make the points we want to make, we need to point out what those are. So basically, we would be saying that these snowbanks over here, so that's one and that's two, are both light cover. And then anything that's ice or metal would be heavy cover. So that would be this would all be heavy cover. And also that for this example, we would say that both the snow and the metal would be considered difficult terrain for any troopers moving over it, which could certainly matter. So with all that being said, again, hopefully everybody is talking about that at the beginning of the game with their opponents. Anything else that you feel is worth pointing out before we talk about what a potential movement might be for the rebel player?
Nah, let's get these rebel troopers
All
dead.
right. Yeah. Let's. I mean, hey, these arc snipers don't have high velocity, right? So it may take
Let's,
a little bit of a while.
yeah.
So we're going to put the movement template down, and this is probably the first thing that I want to point out is that when you're doing this sort of movement and you're thinking about your defense is going to be afterwards, something that it takes a little while to get used to is that you also need to think about what is going to be the movement the next turn that you want to do. And what that means is that if you are moving towards an objective, like let's say if there was something you wanted to move towards around that area, it may seem convenient to let your guy hang out there or somewhere like there. But what's going to be the problem with that, Mike?
Yeah, so in both of those examples, you're going to have to either use the speed 1 tool because you're going to be going through difficult terrain, or you're going to use
Short.
the or you're going to use the speed 2 tool, and you're going to have to kind of cock it weird
Yeah.
around the terrain, right?
Right.
And so by placing your unit leader kind of like through the middle of these and forward, you kind of are going to be able to pick up the benefits of cohering behind cover that is difficult without slowing down your unit leader. This is a big deal when it comes to making sure that you are picking up those benefits and also kind of like surging forward. We've talked about this being a game of movement, and making sure that you're not slowed down is a really big deal.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be putting the unit leader there so that way he's got a straight shot in that direction the next round if they're lucky enough to survive that long. And then so the question becomes, where are we going to put the rest of the guys? The rule, of course, is that everybody needs to be within the half range marker. This is a half range marker of the unit leader. And so an example of what we could do if we were being silly would be that we would do just like sort of forward cohesion and let everybody kind of hang out there. We're not going to be silly around here. So instead, we're going to put some guys behind cover. And this is another thing that it takes new players a little while to get the hang of often. So first of all, you probably know that in order to get cover, you need to have a piece of terrain that is obscuring half or greater of the shots from the opposing target. So like for this first example, let's talk about this guy over here, is that his line of fire from his silhouette to all the silhouettes over here would need to be obscured in some way by a piece of terrain by half or more of the unit in order for that unit to get any cover at all. And so from this angle right here, it would not be obscured to him, but it would be to all four of the other guys, which would mean that they would have cover. And now Mike, 3 of these guys, so that's the majority of my unit, is behind a light cover. One guy has a little bit of his silhouette covered up by this piece of rubble over here. What kind of cover would they get?
Yeah, so whenever you're calculating cover, you are going to, again, check if the unit has cover at all. So is more than half the unit in cover? Yes, no. If yes, great, they have cover. The type of cover is simply the highest cover that any one guy in the squad has. So in this example, the guy on the right is behind that metal barricade. Let's not call it a barricade. Metal wreckage.
Yeah.
And so that's heavy. That squad has heavy from that unit.
Yep, so that means that this can come into play when you're trying to squeeze multiple units into an area where you want to sort of make room for yourself, so to speak. Is that if you want to upgrade the cover of the whole unit, you only need one guy behind the good stuff, and then everybody else can be behind light cover. If that's what is going to help you fit more stuff in, then that is totally fine. That totally works. So in this example, this unit would have very good cover away from that shooter over there. But Michael, there's a problem. There's actually 2 shooters in this example.
There is.
The other one being over here. And I think that what we're going to do is that I'm going to show an arrangement that would still look good for the dude over here, but would actually be problematic for this guy over here. So let's double check that we are still in an appropriate range. We are, just barely. So if I had it like this, then these 3 definitely would still be behind the wreckage from the red arc sniper over there. Yellow arc sniper over here, though, would it be difficult, would you say, for him to get a good angle on those guys, or would it be pretty easy?
Yeah, so with a move, the yellow sniper over there to the right definitely is going to probably preserve his own cover by kind of like moving behind that ice block. And now, even though your guys are behind cover, he's definitely got at least 3 outside cover here.
Yeah, because if we had a laser pointer, then it would be even easier to show, but you can sort of like align the range tool and see that even at the edge of the silhouettes is that nothing is obscured by this wreckage over here, which would mean that he would have a lovely open shot, get past that dodge token very easily. So that is an extra reason why when you are doing this initial movement, you want to think about what all of the potential angles of attack are. That means that you need to be aware of not only where your opponent's units are now, but where they could be within one move, and do the best you can to utilize cover that would be useful in either situation. Also worth remembering that this yellow arc sniper would potentially be able to do a climb to probably end up somewhere like there. That would still, these guys would still be okay. But if that serves to show that from the elevated terrain, it would there at a certain point you can potentially get angles so that the cover is no longer relevant for these troopers. That would usually be if they're a little bit farther away, because there is a point at which like the angle no longer actually intersects this sort of low to the ground terrain. So that's just one more thing to keep in mind. That one doesn't come up quite as much, but you mostly want to focus on the angles piece. And while we're at it, is an important time to remind folks about the fact that in order to get the benefit from any terrain that is obscuring the shot, the unit or the mini in question needs to be within half range of that terrain. So if we could have in this situation like legal cohesion, and then these guys would be so like let's say we did it like this. So that would be a legal cohesion from the unit leader. But as we can see, these guys are not actually close enough to this piece of terrain to get the benefit of cover from it. So even though this does obscure the shot from here to here, if they're not within half range of that piece of terrain, then they can't benefit from cover from it at all. This was a significant change when we changed over to New Legion from Legacy Legion, where anything in the way of any shot would block you up. That is no longer the case. You have to be close to it. So this is the sort of thing that can leave new players in the unfortunate zone of having wide open shots that they did not intend to be. And so you need to just double check that your cohesion is such that you prevent that from happening. So those are the basics of using cohesion for cover. We are going to have probably several videos that talk about cohesion concepts because it comes into play many, many, many times in a variety of different situations, but we wanted to sort of go one by one. Is there anything else that you have to say about this one, though, Mike?
I think the only other thing that I would say here is that, once you start taking casualties on this unit, making sure that you remove them in the proper order.
That very good one.
As well as placing your heavy weapon in this squad in the place where you would like to last pull a guy. So, like, if you are putting if you just want to shuffle those three or like two behind that snowbank again, So, like, in this situation, we obviously don't have a heavy weapon model, I don't think, in this squad right now, or maybe we do.
This is a
is that an Thorian with a shotgun?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So in this situation, the heavy weapon is actually planted where you should put it, and that is behind the heavy cover. That is the last guy you should pull in this example. Now, with that being said, I think another thing is that you also want the last guy that you would pull in kind of heavy cover from both angles. So he probably should be like where the unit leader
more
is.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. So, and that means that you're going to preserve your cover even as your unit deteriorates, right? So in some of these examples, like as one or two guys gets picked off, if all of a sudden that makes you not in cover from a certain angle because, those were the guys that were providing cover from that angle, you need to be kind of careful about that.
Yeah, because if we switch these guys around and then I got shot and I lost a mini, if I took this guy away, then all of a sudden my heavy cover, at least from this angle, has turned into light cover immediately, and that's not great.
Right. So you want to put your most valuable minis in the places that are going to be picking up the heaviest cover. Is kind of the short TLDR on that.
And that also means that if, in order to fit things in, you had to leave like a couple minis, a minority out of cover, that those are the first ones that should be dying, assuming that none of those are the heavy. This is something you run into much more often with either B1 battle droids or Ewoks, where the unit takes up so much space that you often need to leave a couple out of cover, and it's those ones hanging out in the open that you want to take away first. We're going to have a whole video about cohesion for droid troopers and clone troopers, which will affect your decision making as far as that goes. But for
it's
this
like a
example,
layered cake,
exactly.
It's like you have to consider this cover situation, and then you also have to consider range sharing for clone trogans and exemplar and coordinate and all that. It's like a whole nother level.
We got a whole other video about that one. But for now, we appreciate everybody watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you like what we're doing here, please do consider checking out the Patreon. And we will see you in the next TFT Mini.